Okay, the VW 2-liter diesel motor is in the Caravan now. I still have yet to make a mount on the K-frame to put this dog bone, this is called a dog bone torsion motor mount. Stops the motor from doing this. Every front wheel drive car's got one or two of something like that. I'll show you on the frame out here where it went. This is the subframe off that car. Looks like a K-frame too. Well, there it is. It's rubber. It moves. There's a bolt that goes through the middle. The dog bone thing goes through there. The other end of the dog bone attaches to the transmission, the two bolts. So in a moment I'll pick up this van with a tractor, put two tires underneath each front tire, so I've got like a mini jack stand, so I've got room to work on it because I'm going to be cutting and grinding. But how you get the motor in is, it's very important, like I mentioned before, to set the motor in position. I don't even know if you can see that, so that it lines up with the weight of the motor and everything just sitting normal. The output shafts of the transmission, or output drive plates of the transmission, pretty closely line up with the axle drive hubs on the wheels. So to do that, I needed to make a 1.2 inch spacer, and to make this easy to change the timing belt when it's in the vehicle, instead of use the original Chrysler front motor mount bolt hole, which is right there, I took off the mount plate off my black car, cut it off, welded it on, and moved it over 1 inch. So it's dropped 1.2 inches, moved over 1 inch. Got good space in there for service. Here, like I mentioned before, this is a 3-inch block. This is a 1-inch block that I made. And so it's a 4-inch drop on this side. And the way Volkswagens mount their engines, they actually put them in slightly tilted. The reason being, they don't use equal-length half-shaft axles. So this axle is on a different angle than that axle. So by lowering the engine a tiny bit more on the driver's side with the short axle, the axle angles are closer to being the same. So I think that reduces torque steer. That's probably why they do it. So like I said before, the reference point to get this engine in the right place is the front bolt hole lines up with the Chrysler bolt hole, which we're not using. And there's a little bump on the, what do you call that thing? This little bump. Something like the shock tower there. And the center of this motor mount lines up with that bump on the shock tower. I made a 1/4 inch steel plate, drilled 4 holes in it, and I bolted this to the plate by welding nuts to the other side. So I just tightened the nuts down, flipped it upside down, welded the nuts to the plate, and then I welded the plate to the car. And when I put this motor mount together, it was a 2-piece motor mount. I was able to slide and adjust the motor around on a jack, get it all lined up so the axle position is, or output shaft positions are in the right position, and then weld it to the plate. So it's perfect. In the next video I'll show how I did the dog bone. That's going to be a pain in the ass. I'm going to be on my back and welding and sparking and all that stuff. I mentioned before I was going to disconnect my rear air conditioning, so now I've got these tubes welded together. So I'll just have front air conditioning since I don't need to air condition the rear van. I never have passengers back there. My shifter cables are here. That's going to go on the transmission. I lowered this all in with the tractor. Now the next issue is, will my DPF device fit? Diesel particulate filter. It's going to be pretty close. If I do have to make a mod, it'll just be changing a little bit of the angle here, which means I could cut the pipe off here and here and just slightly change the angle. We'll have to see. but not till I get my dog bone mounted. There was one issue. The very back of the frame, what we're looking at, not where the frame is, this is the differential part of a front wheel drive transmission. They all look the same and they all have a differential part that sticks out the back. Well, it didn't have enough clearance for the frame, so I cut a bit of the K-frame out and then boxed it in where I cut it out by welding it all back in, coating it with rust proofing. So just wanted to make sure that's good. When you do put your, what do you call it, dog bone thing in, you want at least the transmission to be at least an inch away from the frame. So the next video, I'll show you how I make welded together axles, which are pretty damn true and balanced, and so far out of 2 diesel vans that I've been driving for years, they haven't broken. See you tomorrow.